Are we set?
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Your name, sir. Can I get you?
Yeah, my name is Idris Miliki Abdul. I'm the Executive Director of Conscience for Human Rights and Conflict Resolution. I'm based here in Lokoja.
So by tomorrow, Nigeria will be 64. And a child of 64 by now must be a mature adult, no longer a child. How will you assess the journey so far with Nigeria in terms of infrastructure, in terms of corruption, in terms of leadership?
Okay, thank you. Let's first of all wish Nigeria happy birthday. At 64, we have to evaluate, we have to take stock. And like you rightly said, a child of 60 years, 64 years, even by law from 18, you are accountable for your action. And therefore, whatever you do, the law can capture you. So talk more of a 64-year-old. When you are 64, it is for celebration. Even an individual birthday at 64 will roll up the drum. Even when somebody died at 64, the family, they have resources, they still celebrate and say, life well spent. When they say the lifespan is around 50, 54. So I think we need to celebrate Nigerian community, still remain together, despite all our challenges, that at 64, Nigeria still remain one entity. However, it is not where we were 64 years ago that we are today. It is not where we intend to be or where we are supposed to be. That is where we are. So today, there have been a lot of challenges. But the important thing, like I said earlier, is our coming together or our remain together despite all our challenges. Nigeria has fought to work. We are facing security challenges, but yet Nigeria still remain one entity. So congratulations to Nigerians and Nigerians. Moving forward, most of the problems that we have in Nigeria, if we have to be factual, is about corruption. Corruption in the high place. Research has shown everywhere, international agencies have done research, local NGOs, civil society have done research that if we can minimize, if we can reduce corruption by 50% and apply resources, Nigeria will have gone far beyond where we are. If you look at the first generations of leaders in Nigeria, when we are under region, when we are under the person like our great fathers like Awolowo, Asikwe, and then even the Tafawa Balewa and Co. and Sadana, the corruption that we have then was not as severe as we have today. That's why we enjoy free education. Look at how developed the West is, educational-wise, individual, because there was free education. You can see the North, how the Granite Pyramid was also very there. Look at the issue from the East, where you have coal. And all these things were natural resources that were put together regionally, and they were used to develop their region. But the unfortunate and most condemnable thing was the incursions of the military that came in and stopped this regional issue. That's why people are debating. They wanted to go back to the region because people felt that the region was much more developed, looking inward. Then, can we call the oil tragedy? It is not tragedy. It is because of the mismanagement, which we have to locate in the corruption. The oil resources that were discovered in Nigeria that have become up to not less than 85 or to about 90% of our foreign exchange in Nigeria have also created problems for us. It has created conflict because people will say it's our resources. What do we do? And I think to me, if we have the right leaders in the right place, I think definitely things will be done because it's not just about followership. You know that individual attitude in Nigeria has become a very serious issue. That people will not come to work when it's supposed to be. But when it gets to another person's office, he said, why are you not in the people? People go to bank by 8 o'clock. If the bank is not open, they create problem for and can criticize. But are they in their own office by 8 o'clock? That is one issue. You get to work by 9, 10 o'clock, you want to close by 2:30. This is government work. What are we doing? So I think leadership has become the issue. On security, which also we have to see that it's a misplaced priority. It's about the fact that people perceived injustice. And when you think you are marginalized, there is injustice, you now think that the best way to go is to take arms against the institution. We don't need to do that. The young person should be ready to be patient. The young person needs to be creative. The young person needs to also look at what are the opportunities. In every challenges that you have, there are opportunities that is there. So if the leaders can put the machinery in place, if you look at anybody today that is 60 years and above, they all went to free primary school education. A lot of persons went into free secondary school and even scholarship to university. Some people also went abroad, but by the time they come back, they find themselves as governors, they find themselves as ministers, and at the end of the day, they now build their private schools, build their own private hospitals, and take money. Somebody will stay 35 years in the public service, take money from public post, and now when he retire or she, he went and built his own private estate. He doesn't contribute to the employment generation. And that's why you can see an individual having cement factory, having petrol, having selling, and employing thousands of persons in Nigeria. Is private person that is doing that. We need to see that kind of person. We need to celebrate. We need to worship that kind of a person. To say somebody who have gotten and started. He was not a professor. How educated was he when he started? But he managed these resources. I can see the private sector. You will say, okay, we establish an institution, even a media institution, and they will suffer. What about the private person that are managing that same institution? You have a state that is about 32 years. It doesn't have a television station. It doesn't have single industry. The agricultural sector is being neglected. But billions of naira are coming in. You see an individual person that is riding a car worth about 100 million, and is not contributing anything meaningful to the economy. And yes, the salary of the workers that are generating resources are not even being paid and paid at all times. So I think it's a holistic thing. But apart from the fact that we must continue to celebrate the coexistence of Nigeria and sit down to look ourselves in the face. Where are we 64 years ago? Where are we today? And where do we want to go? Probably in the next 60 years, which many of us that are alive today may not also be alive in 64 years ago. It's about idea. It's about being prudent, it's about being resourceful, and it's about not looking at it. I'm stealing this money because of my children. You don't know whether your children will succeed you. Do you know whether your wife will succeed you? Do you know whether your husband will succeed you? Why do you steal billions of naira that you don't need? Did your parents steal to train you? That's a fundamental question. So why do you need to steal for your children? Because I think that is what Nigeria is all about. And I think to me, Nigeria is something we need to sit down. What is happening at federal level? What is happening at subnational level? If you say money is not coming in or there are inflation, what about that kinkini that is coming to the state? That is where we are now in Nigeria. Monies are coming to the state and it's being looted. That nobody said there is no looting at federal level, but the level of looting at state level, the level of corruption, the level of denial at state level is magnitude, is magnificent. And they are hiding it because everybody concentrates to face the federal level. And that's why we need to look inward. What are the resources available in your home state? Since we are no longer looking at region, what are the resources available in your local government? How do you harness it? Why is everybody going to Abuja at the end of every 30 days to collect money, to share resources, and come back to their state and squander that money, and nobody can speak about it? I think democracy is something we must cherish. Democracy is something we must nurture. Democracy is something that is better for others. After every 4 years, we have the opportunity to sit down and then look at ourselves and vote again. Whether the election is acceptable to everybody or not, it can never be acceptable. But when your child attains 60% in an exam or 65, you expect that child to attain 75, 80%. But that does not amount to failure. So we must continue to look at ourselves and see how we can perfect our electoral system. But there's nothing as good as democracy. And the election is an ingredient of democracy. And we have seen it. This party will lose today, and another party will come in tomorrow. Individuals that are there, what is their own vision? The citizen must call their leaders to question. The citizen must be able to say, okay, what is your charter of demand? What do you want to tell us? It's not by telling us you are very fine, you are very tall, and you are accessible. Tell us how many housing. How can we live in a state like Kogi, for instance? For the past 8 years, we have not been able to build one-bedroom flat and commission it in the housing sector. How can we live in a place like Kogi State, for instance? Kogi State at 32 does not have television station. How do we provide information? How do we now be able to share information and develop our cultural system? I think to me that is condemnable. How much does a television station need? We have not even invested enough, both state and federal, in a media system. And we use this opportunity to call on the federal government to develop the media system. We must invest in media. That is when we are transparent. The state government across the federation must invest in the media. The private sector, it's not about making money. And that is where the problem is. You don't establish a media institution and start getting money immediately. Even that money will come, that money will not be there. But I think it's something that we need to. The regulation in the media system has also helped. But the media practitioners themselves, what about their welfare? I think to me that is something that is a holistic challenge But that is not to say that Nigeria cannot be great. Nigeria is a great country. Some of us who have traveled even outside the country, and when they see us in Nigeria, they respect you. Particularly among African countries, and a lot of African countries look on to Nigeria. I remember somebody asked me, I said, Nigeria, please don't disappoint us after the election of 2023. And we said, we won't disappoint you. I will thank God today. And somebody also said before, Idris Gali said, after retiring in UN, where do you want to now stay? He said he either stay in the New York or Washington, D.C., do big consultancy and make money, or come to Nigeria. And the journalists, the media people there was very, very surprised. Why do you want to go to Nigeria? Which is a lesson. And I think Okuta also said this thing of a blessed memory, that when Nigeria is boiling, and you think there will be war, before you know it, it will just go down. The man said, I want to go and study what is the way Nigerians resolve their differences. And that is always the case. Is it through prayer? Is it because we are very accommodating? Is it because we are tolerant among ourselves? We need to look at our strength and not where we are looking back. Our strength, our unity, our diversity is a strength for Nigeria.
So it's quite clear that corruption is the bane of our underdevelopment. Yes. Some people are calling for the need for us to go back to the regional system of government. In fact, some are even claiming that the bill is before the National Assembly. They will not yet. What would be your own opinion to the solution of all this?
I think federalism is still okay, because this kind of regional system will create more problem because of ethnic rivalry that we have. In every region, the way it was in the 50s and the 60s, before the unfortunate military that came into power, it's not the way we look at ourselves today. We are more divided along ethnic line. If you are creating a region, for example, in northern Nigeria, which state is going to be in the middle belt? State. Some people will say, okay, certain particular state is a middle belter. They will tell you and say, I'm not a middle belter because of interest. I think the region that may be a bit homogeneous is about the west. Even when you go to the southeast too, the south and the southeast, that it was in the olden days, there are still ethnic rivalry within the southeast and the south. So which state will be in southeast, which state will be in the south? Because of the ethnic and the language issue. If you go to the northeast, how many states are you going to put there? People are clamoring for state creation. I was a member of National Political Reform Conference in 2005 during the regime of President Olusegun Obasanjo, and we resolved that there should be a new state in the southeast. But even in that same region, where would the headquarters be? That is where the problem is. Where are you going to put them together? So I think if we can perfect, if we can improve on the federal system that we are practicing, we are copying from the US as a first step, but the corruption that is in Nigeria has created problems. The diversity, the division more especially along ethnic line will be more problem. So for one, I think we should look at how can we perfect the federal system. How can we bring more power to the subnationals? How can the local government be developed? Thank God to what the Supreme Court judge. Yourself, we have seen it. In the last 2 months now, there is that effort to conduct election. Whether it's going to be mushroom election, that is where the issue is. Election will be conducted, councillor will be put in place. And so at that level, they can make bylaws. They can address specific security challenge and economic challenge at local government level. People from that local government can be able to know how much coming to local government in a month. The governors that have been the major problem of Nigeria, who think they have immunity and nobody can touch them, and going to local government and put their stooges as local government chairman, but no problem. We'll get there. So as far as I'm concerned, I want us to go more on federalism. But we need to look at ourselves, what kind of federal system? There's no perfect federal system. The federal system being practiced in US is different from the federal system being practiced in Canada. And I think we need to look at this kind of federalism that is there. I, for one, am for federalism. But that federalism needs to be structured, needs to be looked into. More power, more resources to be given to subnationals.
As we plan to celebrate tomorrow, the NBI governance team are still out there saying protests will commence tomorrow. Do you think that's the solution to the Nigerian problem? Because we've been passing through a lot in the last few months.
I am a product of street protest as an activist and a human rights person. I don't subscribe to it. We protested on June 12th, towards the June 12th crisis. Some of us were picked up. We protested in 2012. But that was much more elaborate. That was much more specific. If you look at the demand of the protesters, they are not also making suggestions, realistic suggestions on what we think can move Nigeria forward. It's on sentiment. Nobody is saying we are doing well where we're supposed to be. We are hungry. People say we are hungry. Fine. Nobody can feed well. But complaint has been there. But if at family level, the wife cannot complain without making suggestion to the husband. Now the situation we find ourselves now, what alternative do we really need to embark on? As individual, we still look at these white collar jobs as an issue. Everybody wants to look at salary as the main of the whole thing. Is there anything that we can do? Look at the agricultural sector that has been neglected as a result also because of the insecurity. But I think going to the street to protest is a right of citizen. We can protest peacefully. But the experience of about a month ago is also not palatable. We can see people looting. You say you are hungry, you go to somebody and steal chairs. What are you really doing? So government need to look at the demand of Nigeria. What is practicable? And the major problem is the fact that the price of goods and services is not something that everybody can bear. Transport cost is very high. And when you have transport that is affecting us, definitely it will affect the product. But I'm not saying people cannot protest. If you want to protest, you must protest on specific demand, on specific request. Who is leading the protest? At national level, is there any room for dialogue? Since the last protest, have we been able to meet authority? Have we been able to say, okay, this is what and what we think Nigerian can do? If you are talking of constitutional amendment, if you are talking of releasing a particular person, it's politically minded. So I think when you want to protest, 2012, we were deeply involved, and every day we are on the street. Everybody can see clearly this is what we needed for. And the leadership of that day was able to listen to all of us. You can see a lot of leaders today were part of 2012, but not the kind of people who are looting. We were in one place, we were making our slogan. I remember even security agent that time was able to provide us even water, and the message was clear. We were in uniform, and people can identify who is who. Meetings were being held every day to review our protests, and there was no violence, at least as far as I know, in that kind of protest in 2012. Even in places like Lagos, even in places we protested, people were arrested on June 12 issues, but that is not where we are now. The situation of June 12 is different from where we are. So I for one, I will not participate in any so-called bad governance. If I want to protest, I will protest against the injustice, the fraud, the corruption happening in my own state where I reside. I cannot stay in a place like Lokoja for 10 months and there's no water to drink. That can call for protest. That is the issue. How accountable is the immediate past and the current leadership in Kogi State? Look at the palliative. We don't have an issue of social development for the citizen. How are you distributing the palliative? So let us look inward. Let us ask questions from the subnational. And what can all of us do collectively? It is unfortunate, it is regrettable, it is condemnable that I can stay in Lokoja for 10 months and I will pipe no water for at least 1 hour. Yet billions of naira is coming to the state. And I think to me that is very unfortunate. So protests should be structured in a way that we can dialogue. Protests should be structured in a way that we consider it as leaders. And then they can be able to tell us what they are doing, how much is coming to us, and what we need to do to move forward.
So in your own opinion, in the last 1 year, can you say the President Tinubu-led government is addressing the issue of the economy? People are crying here and there, and daily the cost of fuel now is 1,100. That's the least you can get. Do you think they are actually addressing the
You see, the problem with economic terminologies or economic issue is about the needs of the people and what government think is their priority. No government, you can say government is not doing anything. Individual, your wife cannot say you are not doing anything. You must be doing something, but how does it transform or translate to the development of the country? That is what we need to do. A lot of statistics have been brought up to say there's improvement. But I always also say that's why we are also victim of the economic crisis. Is it the same day that you marry that your wife gets pregnant? Is it the same day you plant a tree that you put fruit there? What government need to do is to be able to carry the citizens along. One problem that we have with our government, both at federal and at national level, is that the citizens are not involved. The genuine citizens are not involved. No adequate consultation about the direction of the government and no information coming out. We cannot be saying what you want IMF to know that you are doing. What about that person on the street? What about that market woman? What is the quality of education? What is the transport system that we are operating? That are cumulative work that we are doing. For instance, here, money are given to state governor, and you don't have a transport system that can subsidize for you. When you are talking of subsidy, the state government can subsidize transport system. To say, okay, I have purchased buses in the state headquarters. This is how much we will be charging. You don't need to make profit. It will create employment. If the workers can go to work at a very little, then the children can go to school at a very little. But you are not doing all those ones. We are all crying at national level. So when you are talking of subsidy, and the government say, okay, billions of naira will have been saved, where do we put that subsidy? So government might be doing something that we may not know that is affecting, because the ordinary person like me and you want to see how much is the cost of garri in the market, how much is the cost of rice in the market, how much is the cost of transportation. For you to travel from Lokoja to Abuja now, you pay about 8,000 naira. For you, that is a challenge to you, a distance of about 2.5 hours. So for you to go to work today, in a place like Lokoja, you will spend an average of about 500 naira to go to work, come back with 500 naira. You are talking of not less than an average of about 30,000 naira in a month to go to work and come back. If you want to fuel your tank, now NEPA is not functioning, you buy generator and then they will not bring light to you. So for you to fuel your generator, for you to also service NEPA, you are talking of average of about 50,000 naira in a month. How much is your resources? I think to me those are those things that we need to look at. Something that translates to immediate gain for the country, something that transforms into servicing the citizen, like petroleum, like water, like electricity. If those things are provided available, what is the scholarship rate? People are in the school. What about the job creation? Those are the things. You come back from school, you have no job to do. You get where to get job. What is being given to you doesn't take you to anywhere. To me, those are those things. The government definitely, I don't always say government is not doing anything. Government is doing a lot. Government is doing more. But how does the citizen key into it? The needs of the people and the priority of the government must be put together.
Lastly, sir, the state government here, sometimes ago, domesticated, according to them, a law which empowers legislative staff to retire at 65 or 40 years in service. But recently, just last week, the president declared assent to the bill to that effect. What implication is this to the State House of Assembly, which is already operating under that law, which the government declared assent to?
Yes, until a law is signed or assented to by the executive house of government, whether state or federal, that law cannot take effect. So if you are doing it with the presumption that the law will be assented to and you are implementing it, you have done illegality. Now that the federal government executive level, which is the president, did not sign for whatever reasons, that action taken at state or federal level before that refusal of assent remain null and void. And those who have benefited from that particular illegal action, because as far as I'm concerned, it is illegal. You cannot be sitting down when a law has not been passed. And remember that it is also stated in the Constitution, any law that's not conform with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, no matter how that law is good or bad, remain null and void. So therefore, at state level, for instance, in Kogi State, if the clerk of the state assembly have been enjoining that kind of things, and then the state government have allowed you to continue on any other reason best known to them, that person should vacate the office immediately, because there's no law backing it. Remember, the office, the state clerk of the assembly is a civil servant. It's not a political appointment, so you cannot extend the tenure. You either 65 or 30 years in service. So if you have attained any of the two, you pack your load and go. Now that a bill was submitted to the federal national level, which is also supposed to capture both states, and the president has refused to assent to it, any beneficiary of that illegality should also pack their load, whether state or federal. So as far as we are concerned, the current clerk of the state assembly can no longer sit down on that seat, because that chair is not a political office. That chair is not political. It's a career civil servant. It's just like when you have the issue of head of service. Head of service is not political. You cannot extend the tenure of the head of service, whether state or federal. You saw at federal level, the head of service just left and somebody else was appointed. You cannot extend the tenure because it's a career office. So if you are there as a clerk of the assembly, you are also equivalent to the permanent secretary. And I think it is very important for the governor to take note of that. and then ask the clerk to leave immediately and get another person to be there who is also qualified. We have several persons that can run that place. We have seen people in the assembly that have been there for more than 20 years and do legislative activities. Why can't you also assist? Why can't you? Even the current clerk of the assembly, by supposedly, for no matter interest, it's not supposed to be, because he doesn't have legislative experience. He doesn't do. He has a financial. He's a financial person. He's an accountant, but he was imposed on the assembly for whatever reason best known to them to become the clerk. Fine, that is okay. That is the prerogative of the power that be. But now that the law say no, you can no longer stay there because your tenure has expired or the years of service has expired. He must go, he must retire, and he must be compensated for doing that. But that jara that has been given to him, it's like buying rice in the market. The person put hand and put jara for you. It's like buying gari, anything in the market or beans, and they put jara. Jara has been given to him. We will not ask him to refund the salary that he has enjoyed for this period of illegality that he has been there, because it is an anticipation that the law will be signed. Now that the law is not signed, that person who occupied that office, both state and federal level, should pack their load and go immediately.
Thank you very much, sir.